Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Agency Suppressor Silencer update, Rep Suppressor update that pretty much impacts the vast majority of Cold War weapons and how people want to use them. In case you guys were unaware, obviously they had it where it was completely broken, it didn't work, it wasn't helping at all. And then they converted it over to something similar to the monolithic suppressor, but then with the season 2, they went back and reverted that, so then it was completely different. And then now they've gone and fixed it. We'll go ahead and kind of look through what they did and didn't fix, because as you go through this, they've actually modified it. Now the description actually includes a lot of different things. We have sound suppression, vertical recoil, bullet velocity, effective damage range, aim down sight speed, as well as aiming stability. So we're going to go ahead and go through that for various different weapons. If you enjoyed the video, learned something new, please do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. A quick reminder, I am still participating in the March Madness. It looks like I'm probably going to be able to make it to the second round, but it's still a little too soon. My code is still 30% off for Gfuel up until the March 5th, but that could be extended all the way up until the 11th if we make it to round 2. I do appreciate all the support you guys have been showing on this, by the way. Let's go ahead and get into some of the numbers. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of put together, I still have a little bit more work to do on this because I think it's going to end up being certain scenarios where there's a little bit of weapon specific stuff, and we'll talk about that when we get to the sniper rifles. So for the rifles, it looks like it's helping your bullet velocity by 30%, SMGs by 30%, sniper rifles, I got inconsistent results. One gun I was able to get 20%, the other one 25%. So I think there are going to be a little bit of discrepancies between certain weapons, but for the most part, these should be like huge boost to your bullet velocity. And this is going to be a game changer for a lot of the weapons, actually boosting that bullet velocity well over 1,000 to compete with a lot of those super low recoil laser accurate guns. Obviously, we still got to figure out if there's any recoil changes because it says there's a vertical recoil help, which we're going to go through. But I think, again, that one's going to be case by case. Bullet velocity all the way through. There's also an ADS speed penalty. So I was able to test that. If you aim down sight with the regular Mac, it ends up being 184 milliseconds. If you add on the suppressor, it's 200 milliseconds, which is one frame at 60 FPS. That shows 17 milliseconds, 16 milliseconds, but in reality, it's probably 18 and a half milliseconds because it's 10%. It's just the frames, the way they work with rounding, you won't notice that difference unless you're measuring it at like 200 FPS, which I don't typically do. FFAR, again, 10% difference. The same thing with the M16, right around 10%. AUG, right around 10%. It should be 40 milliseconds. So that is pretty consistent. Tundra, 567. This one drastically slows down your aim down sight time, and that's bad for those sniper rifles because it makes them a lot less viable, considering that the only way that we can really speed up the ADS time on sniper rifles currently is to go to a lower zoom optic like the 4X, and then you get significantly faster, but we don't have anything for stabilization like the TAC laser that also improves your ADS speed significantly. So I think you could still use them. The bullet velocity is going to be insane on them. It's basically like what happened in season 1, how they worked before. Pretty much is the same, just a little bit slower aim down sight time. Stoner, same thing. I tested that. So the LMGs, again, there's a 10% ADS penalty. I wanted to also test for the tactical rifles. I went through, tested those like you see them here. But the bullet velocity, the max bullet velocity you can get on the M16 now is right around 960, and the AUG is right around 1100. The reason why there's a difference is because on the strike team on the M16, it just doesn't give quite as big a buff as it does on the AUG, so there's the difference. So AUG will have better bullet velocity than the M16, but these are still super high bullet velocities, and this basically returns the M16 to kind of where it was before in terms of bullet velocity, and the AUG is going to be nuts. It was nuts before. They'll probably end up nerfing it because how broken it is, but that is 100% going to be a broken gun. All right, so I went ahead and also looked at the recoil patterns. I got to go ahead and go a little bit more. Like I said, it's probably going to be a case by case because of this reason. At first, I was like, well, maybe there's no difference. But over here, you can see that it might even be helping with bullet stabilization because if you look at the consistency of these recoil patterns, I have the FFAR. These were all done at 12 meters. Basically, I fired, stepped to the side, double checked this 12 meters, fired again, and you can see that there's a little inconsistency in these patterns. But as soon as I equip the agency, this thing is super consistent. We're going to have to see how this combines on an individual basis with certain grips. Obviously, that SFOD speed grip, it seems to be like one of the monsters after the Season 2 update. But you can see this consistency, but it doesn't really look like it's impacting that recoil pattern all that much, other than the fact that I'm getting a consistent recoil pattern 3 for 3. It looks pretty much the same versus these ones. There's a little bit more wonkiness going on. When it comes to the Mac, you can see a similar scenario where it kind of has all this randomness. These ones still look pretty wild, but you can see there's a considerable difference in that vertical recoil. So there is that. So it does look like it is going to help with vertical recoil on the Mac 10. Obviously, like I said, it's kind of one of those things you got to go case by case, see if there's a difference. At the end of the day, most people, the vast majority of players, will equip the Agency Suppressor, Silencer, Rep Suppressor, whatever you want to call it, not because of any of the downsides, but because of the bullet velocity and the sound suppression, staying off the minimap. A lot of times that's incredibly important for getting third-partied or not getting third-party. So it's just something to be aware of. So normally for range, I normally have somebody jump in with me. Obviously with this update kind of coming out at a little bit of random time or different than we expected, I don't have that lined up to test. I would imagine it's probably close to 10%. I wouldn't imagine they would do more than that, which means for the most part, it's not going to even be part of the decision factor. But there it is. That is something I was not able to test. But for everything else on this list, pretty straightforward. So somebody also mentioned me that on the Pellington, when you go to the Rep Suppressor, it says negative bullet velocity. That's not actually the case. I tested it. You actually do get increased 25% bullet velocity. And this ended up being what they had in season 1. The entire season, it said that it had reduced bullet velocity when in fact it was helping out. There's also the Task Force Shroud, which says it helps bullet velocity, which I did not test yet. Obviously, that's a little bit more specific to something else. I wanted to focus primarily on this bottom 6th attachment suppressor that I know a lot of people are interested in. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, learned something new. If you did, please do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Appreciate y'all supporting the channel. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.